Welcome to the Jimmy Warren Show. It's time for another hour of incredible conversations with the biggest names in music. Now here's your host, Jimmy Warren.
All right. Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Jimmy Warren Show. I'm so grateful that you've tuned in tonight. You know, it's always a pleasure to have you with us. You know, no matter where you are in the world, I am so grateful that you're with us tonight. We want to thank you for tuning in on this special occasion. It is a special occasion because it's a very unique program tonight because we are going to have a conversation with the legendary Charlie Daniels. That's right, Charlie Daniels is joining us on the Jimmy Warren Show tonight. And even cooler than that is his new project that released in April of 2014. It's called Off the Grid, Doing It Dylan. Now, if you didn't know this, Charlie Daniels had actually performed on some of Bob Dylan's earlier releases. He played bass and guitar on some tracks on some of those recordings in the early days of Dylan, which he's going to talk about. And the new CD that he has is, it's kind of like an acoustic version of Charlie Daniels doing some of his favorite Bob Dylan tunes. And how it all came to be is really exciting. You know, he was asked to do some music for the television series Hell on Wheels. And he had to go back and they had to do it acoustically because it had to be set in that time period and so forth. And that's kind of what sparked this, you know, outside of the fact that, you know, he's just a huge Bob Dylan fan, you know, like most people are. So it's a rather interesting conversation. So you're going to hear bits and pieces of some of the release Off the Grid, Doing It Dylan. And you're going to hear a pretty good conversation, I'd say, with the one and only Charlie Daniels. So
hey, Mr. Tambourine Man, play a song for me. I'm not sleepy and there ain't no place I'm going to. The jingle jangle morning, I'll come following you. Though I know that evening's empire.
I'm good, Jimmy. How you doing there, buddy?
I'm real good, and I got to tell you, it's a real honor to be able to spend a few minutes with you. I really appreciate it.
Well, it's my pleasure. Thank you for talking to me today. Where are you, by the way?
I'm in Chicago.
I didn't recognize the area code. Well, I'm way off down here in Alabama. I want out in Chicago. It is down.
A little different.
It's a warm day in the heart of Dixie, I'll tell you.
Yeah, well, it's pretty humid and hot here too. It's been in the 90s with 90% humidity, so
yeah,
just like the South sometimes.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
If it's all right, we're gonna talk just a little bit about We're just gonna have a conversation, and I'll go back.
Whatever you want to talk about, I'll follow your lead, and you just go anywhere you want to, and I'll go with you.
Wow, that's very gracious of you. Thank you very much. So let's talk a little bit, if it's okay, Charlie, let's talk a little bit about, first of all, your new CD. It kind of took me by surprise because, you know, I've been a fan for a really long time, and one thing that I didn't know, and maybe I should have, maybe I didn't check hard enough, I didn't know that you actually played bass on several of Bob Dylan's releases.
Well, I actually played guitar on two and bass on one. I played guitar on Nashville Skyline and Self-Portrait and New Morning I played some bass on. But starting in 1969 with Nashville Skyline, I was honored and glad to have been one of the studio musicians that they got to work on that. I felt that was, and still to this day feel that was a very unique album for Bob, that it kind of was a little different than the stuff he had done before. And it was some of the most fun I have ever had in the studio. It just seemed like the music just went. It just happened. He would take his guitar and play a song and sing some of it, and all the guys would just fall in and we just start doing it, and first thing you know, we'd have it down. But it was a fun thing to do, and I was a big Dylan fan before then, and of course after that I became a even bigger Dylan fan.
So what I take it it's because of you being a fan of Bob and being a part of, you know, his recordings over the years that you felt that, you know, coming back and maybe paying tribute a little bit, is that the reason for the release? It's called Off the Grid, Doing It Dylan?
That's the philosophical reason. Now let me give you the practical reason. We were asked to do some music. There's a cable TV series called Hell on Wheels, and we were asked to do some music for it. Well, we were bound by I said we were bound. We had to use the instruments that were around the 1800s because that's when the show took place, which meant acoustical stuff. So we did an acoustical tune with all 6 of us playing these acoustical instruments for the first time. We had never done it like that before, and we were so taken with the different sound that it gave the band after all those years of recording other ways. We decided, you know, let's do an acoustical album. Let's do something. Let's take some songs and do it. And of course, we had a lot of choices. We could have gone back into our old catalog or written some new stuff or whatever. And I thought, wow, what a great time to do some Bob Dylan stuff. But for one thing, being a big Dylan fan and wanting to pay tribute to him. Another being that, you know, one thing, you never run out of music when you go into the Bob Dylan catalog. It's a bottomless well. And my desire was to do Dylan music, to absolutely, of course, you never take Dylan's mark off Dylan music. You know it's a Bob Dylan song. But to make it sound like a CD-B thing, that we were approaching it like it was a piece of new material, unaffected by anything that either Bob or the bands that had covered it before had done, but just to do our own thing with it. So that was what we were trying to do. And we come across a song once in a while. Like, I wanted to do Lay Lady Lay. It's always been one of my favorite Bob Dylan tunes. And I could not find anything to do to it that would make it valid except the old recording of it. It's such a classic recording, the way Bob sang it, the way Pete Drake played steel guitar on it. So I said, well, let's just, you know, we just left it. We just moved on and went on to something else. But that was a great part about doing Dylan music. You know, no big deal. You know, we got another 100 songs to choose from over here.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I personally, I've been a Bob Dylan fan, probably like just about every other red-blooded American out there. But I really love, you know, what you did with his music. You know, I really do. I think your approach to it, I mean, the way that, I think it's just great. I think it was a great
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. You know, a lot of times when you do a record, you do an album, and you finish with it, and a couple months down the road, you start listening to it and say, well, I wish I'd have taken another guitar solo or picked another song or did another vocal performance or something. There is I don't feel that way about this record. I'm happy with it. I don't think I could have done it any better. There is a realness about it. It's not perfect, but it's not slick. It's not overproduced. It's not overdone. It's just 6 guys in a studio playing music and singing. And that's exactly what how I wanted it to come out. So I'm very happy with it.
Yeah, and that's probably really reminiscent of how it probably originally was. You know?
Well, Bob didn't, you know, he wasn't one to stay around the studio for any longer than he had to, you know, but I think he liked to get done what he wanted to do and get out, you know, and I'm very much the same way. I think sometimes we tend to overproduce and overplay and overthink and just over-record, just overdo our recordings. I think we just take it much too seriously, and we cut the fun out of it. You aren't careful. I like pristine sounds. I like something that's basically what I'm saying is sometimes my first few, you know, takes on something is better than anything I'm going to do later on. And that's kind of how this thing came down. We just got in the band, in the studio and started recording, got set up, got ready to go, started recording, turned the machine on and went for it. And we didn't do very many takes on any of this stuff.
wondering if she had changed at all, if her hair was still red. Her folks said that our lives together sure was gonna be rough. They never did like Mama's homemade dress, Papa's bank wasn't enough. And I was standing on the side of the road, rain falling on my shoes, heading out for the East Coast. Well, you know I paid some dues of getting through. Tangled up in blue, where she was mad when we first met.
Tune in every Tuesday night to The Jimmy Warren Show as Jimmy talks with some of the biggest names in music, from George Thorogood and Toto to Judas Priest and Charlie Daniels. That's The Jimmy Warren Show, Tuesday nights at 11 p.m. Eastern Time and 8 p.m. Pacific Time at www.jimmywarrenshow.com.
Hi, this is Randy Bachman, and you're listening to Jimmy Warren.
Since you like it, because it sounds like you really like the old school recording aspects rather than some of the newer stuff. Did you record it to tape, or is it all digital?
No, it's done it's digital. I've got a Mitsubishi 32 track in my studio, and I used it as long as I felt like I possibly could. But I knew the day would come that this thing would break down and I could not get parts for it. It would probably happen in the middle of an album. So I went ahead and joined the enemy. Got the disc and everything like everybody else has to. It's kind of weird because it made the board I was so proud of. It took me years to get it. It kind of made it obsolete. It doesn't really do anything anymore except monitor, basically. But it's new to me, but it's just weird to me that you can plug a computer in and put everything into it and go for it. So I have been resistant to change sometimes, to my detriment, actually. I mean, I just to a point that it became so obvious that I really needed to go ahead and accept the technology, to accept the changes. That I've gotten a little better attitude toward it now. I will take a little quicker look at it than I used to.
Yeah, so you don't track anything, I'm sure. You do everything in the moment, live. You don't.
No, we track stuff, but we do it with everybody in the studio. We track it, and then if everybody's happy with their performance, and there's one guy that's not, we just go back in there and do your part again. Leave everybody else alone. It gives it a very much of a live feel. It's when you do it that way, and it also gives you the opportunity to, if you're recording live and truly live, and you mess up and everybody else has got it, you can do yours over again without making everybody else do theirs over. Sometimes their performance is the best they're going to do. They feel it's the best they're going to do. Yeah. So go back in and do it again. Go do your part again.
Sometimes those little, I don't want to call them mistakes because they just happen, but sometimes those things are some of the things that really make the CD or the music really good, because it's like it's real then. You know what I mean? It's not so.
I think it adds character. I think it adds character too. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about, and I agree with you. Yeah, I think it does add character, and I think perfection is a wonderful thing. I have never been. I practice perfection, but it's more in the delivery of a song or a musical performance. It's more in I want it to feel right. If it feels right, it's perfect. If there's a mistake in it and it feels right, it's still perfect. If it's perfect and it don't feel right, it's a mistake. So I mean, it's just just my way of thinking. I'd rather have something feel good. I'd rather have that hey man, that's it. Listen to this. This feels good. This has got it, rather than absolute total perfection.
Right. Well, that's one of the elements of the Charlie Daniel Band that is special. I think, and other bands as well. You can tell the difference between somebody that is really honed their craft when it comes to presenting a song as to somebody that's just playing a song. You know what I mean?
Well, I know, I definitely know what you mean. You're very perceptive to realize that, because a lot of people don't. I mean, you can cut the heart out of something by mess. I've done it. I mean, I know of which I speak. I mean, it's just possible to completely destroy something by working too hard on it. Just, you know, like I say, you go for fear. That's what I do. I go for, you know, of course, we are very much a band. It's not, when I say Charlie Daniels Band, that's true in the true sense of the word. We have a recording studio that nobody records in but us. We leave it set up for us. We can walk in and in about an hour we can be ready to roll. One of the big things in the studio is communicating with each other, being able to you know, communicate your ideas back and forth. And we are so used to working in the studio, the six of us, that our communication is very good, that we're able to bounce ideas around. Everybody is free to say what they think about something, to say how they feel about a take or a performance, or, hey, this arrangement needs to be joshed up a little bit, let's try this. And whoever's idea is best is what we use. I mean, there's no, you got to use my idea because I came up with it. It's like, you know, if somebody has a better idea than I got, by all means, let's do it. We're there to make the best music we can. So it's a great way. It's very conducive to being creative. And it's the way I choose to create music, and it works out very well for us. So therefore, the feel that you're talking about that we have on the stuff that we do, it's just familiarity. Plus, I've got some. You know, I'm not counting me in as much because I'm not anywhere close to being the caliber of musician as some of the guys I got in the band. I have some extremely talented musicians, and they're, you know, whatever. They love creating. They love our approach to doing it without not having to go in the studio and somebody say, well, you play this and you play that and you play the other thing, and you know, it's they're able to use their own, follow their own star and bring it up. If it works, we use it. If it don't, we'll try something else. But at least everybody knows they can do it. So it's a great way to create music.
Oh, I could imagine, you know, just because of you know, it's more of a I hate to use the word team, but it's more of a team effort, and then people take ownership in that.
No, that's a great analogy, the team thing. I mean, that's what I want it to be. I want it to be a band. I don't want to be me and a band. I want to be a band. I want to be the Charlie Daniels Band in the true sense of the word. I take responsibility for what goes on here. I take responsibility for making a payroll every 2 weeks and all that sort of thing. But I want everybody to feel a part of what we do. I think you get your best music that way. I think I got guys who have been my bass player for 39 years. Wow. And all the way down to 3 years. And most of the guys have been around for, well, 2 of them for 15, 1 for 25. And I mean, just you get a bunch of guys together that enjoy working together, that feel that they are a part of everything that goes on, rather than stand over in the corner reading a chart and, you know, standing back on the back line. And I feature my guys. I feature them on. I feature my whole band every night. We do an instrumental song that features them. I got a couple of guys. One of the guys that works with me writes really good vocals, and we feature him every night, you know, singing the song. And I mean, the band is just, there's so much a part of everything I do. And when I go in the studio, I want it to be that way. I want everybody to realize that this is the Charlie Daniels Band.
Nobody feels any pain tonight as I stand inside the rain. Everybody knows that baby's got new clothes, but lately I see her ribbons and her bows and falling from her curls. She takes Yes, and she aches just like a woman. Ah, but she breaks just like a little girl.
But and I hope it's okay to say this or bring this up, and I
Sure.
hope that I'm right by doing so, or my statement's right. But you're a man of faith, correct?
I am indeed, and I'm glad you brought it up. I'm proud of it. I'm happy about
Yeah.
it.
Well, I am too, and so and
Well, hello, brother.
well, I've had people on my show that I just had Paul Jackson Jr. I don't know if you know Paul.
No, I don't.
Well, Paul's been he's been a guitar player. He's played with everybody from Quincy. He's the guitar player on American Idol. He's played with Quincy Jones and Steve Wonder and Michael Jackson, all them guys. Man of faith as well. And in bringing that into what you're talking about here, I think that's one of the elements that makes that possible, because there's no self in that.
Well, my priorities are, I try to keep my priorities this way. My priorities are God, family, country, and work. That's the 4 interests in my life, and in that order. And yet, fortunately for me, I get to kind of put all 4 of them together in my work. I mean, I am very much a patriot. I'm very much a family man. I'm very much Christian. Just, that's the 4. I try. If I can keep those priorities in order, it's pretty doggone good. I get along pretty well.
Yeah. Well, you do a lot of work for veterans. I noticed that you play quite a bit for different things to honor veterans. And I noticed something on your website that I really like, and that's the soapbox.
Mm-hmm. I just wrote a new one this morning.
The one on the Second Amendment.
No, I do 2 a week, and it's time we'll put a new one up this afternoon. I just finished it this morning. Sometimes I go right up to the line, get them done. It's called the Intransient Mindset, the Scourge of American Politics.
Yeah. About
how we all get so set in our ways that we're not even willing to listen to somebody else's viewpoint. That we put labels on everything, and we judge them by the label rather than, as Dr. King said, the content of their character. We don't give anybody any credit that's not in our club. If you're not of our brand, we don't want to talk to you. And I got noticing that after I got into Twitter, that people who disagree with you, which I expect people to disagree. It's America. That's what we do, is we agree or we disagree, or we agree to disagree. But people, that when you don't think the same way they do, or you don't ascribe to the same theories they do, the first thing they tell you is you're an idiot. It's like because you don't feel the same way they do. That is a very common problem in America nowadays, and every level of political school of politics is guilty of it. It's on the left, it's on the right, it's all over. And it's like when you just completely disavow anybody's validity before you ever hear what they say, we'll just never get anywhere doing that. So anyway, I thought I'd write a soapbox on it, which I'll have up this afternoon. But we've got to get back to communicating with each other somehow or another. People have got the impression that the greatness of America is its politicians. It's not. It's not at all its politicians. It never has been. It never will be. It is the people in this country. It's the people who make the country up, the citizens who make the country great. And we have been so separated by people who have interest in keeping us separated that we just don't know how to communicate with each other anymore. And it's such a shame. Such a shame.
Yeah. I noticed too that you're a strong advocate for the Second Amendment in owning firearms.
Definitely. Well, you know, if you look at that, the Second Amendment, most people say it was for, you know, people that sport shooting and hunting. It really was not, because if you look at it back in the day, as they say, back when that was written, sport shooting, hard people didn't waste money on to shoot, you know, targets with. And hunting was a way of life. Hunting was a way to feed your family. So nobody even thought about that as being a right. Being a right to hunt? No, it was, the right to hunt was just accepted as a given. It was, we had just come out of a revolution, and our politicians did not want to see, we had just had to fight with squirrel guns and Tommy Hawks and anything else we could lay our hands on to defeat the English. And our forefathers, in their wisdom, wanted America to be able to protect themselves from a rogue government. And that's how the Second Amendment came about, and what I honestly believe it was put in there for. I don't think it had anything to do with hunting. But it's been, of course, as a lot of things are nowadays, it has been perverted to mean something that it doesn't mean, and it has been, it is such a farce to act as if you can take away every gun in this country. Well, look at England. Have you checked the murder rate with knives in England the last little while? Do you know anything about it?
No, I don't.
Do yourself a favor. Just look it up, murder rate with knives in the UK. You will be very, very surprised. They haven't had guns over there in many, many years. But the point being, if people are people, if they're mean, they want to hurt somebody, they'll do it with a gun, they'll do it with a knife, they'll do it with a rock, a baseball bat, or something. It's not the guns that cause the trouble. It is the people that cause the trouble. Right. Getting rid of the guns is not getting rid of the bad people. If I I honestly did believe that getting rid of every gun in the United States would get rid of all the crime in the United States, I'd throw mine in the lake. As much as I love them, as much as I enjoy sport shooting and hunting and all that sort of thing, I would get rid of them. But I know, and any thinking person, anybody who's got a brain and a gray matter to get out of bed in the morning has got to know that this is not going to solve the problem. It hadn't solved it in England. It had one of the oldest guns conscription laws that I know anything about in the civilized world. And it's just not going to do it here. It will never do it here until we face the fact that there are people who are bad that need to be gotten off the street. Most of these people that are causing all this problem, it's not the first time they've caused problems. It's not the second time in a lot of cases, or the third or the fourth time. There's so many people out there that walk the street that have no business out there. And, you know, it's just, it's not going to make any difference. Getting rid of guns is not going to make any kind of difference at all. I mean, it's just because the people who own them now, who own them legally, are not the ones that are causing the problems. The ones who are causing the problems are the people who are not supposed to own them legally. So you get rid of the unscrupulous dealers. You get rid of the guys that are selling out of the trunk of their car on the city streets. You put the people in jail when they do gun crimes. You do background checks. I have nothing against background checks. I have nothing against a lot of the stuff that makes sense. You know, I'm not some kind of fanatic that says I got my guns and you can't bother with me. I don't look at it that way at all. I have no problem with background checks. I have no problem with, you know, with making sure that people who buy guns have a right or have are rational enough to own them, and they're not going to go out and cause problems for people. But it's just not going to help if you get rid of everyone in the country.
All right, you've been listening to a conversation with Charlie Daniels. That's right, Charlie Daniels. We want to thank Charlie for being my guest on the Jimmy Warren Show tonight. We've been talking about his new CD. It's called Off the Grid, Doing It Dylan. And as you could hear, you know, he's a really down-to-earth, practical guy, and really loves music and his country and his family, and you know, just a wonderful guy. In that his music's great. His interpretation of the Dylan tunes is really cool. And you know, you heard him talk about how he's writing music for Hell on Wheels, the TV series. So you know, make sure that you're, you know, if you watch that program, that you're really listening for that. You know, go search that out. Now you can find out more about Charlie going to his website, charliedaniels.com. Of course, you know, his new CD is available everywhere from iTunes to Amazon to you name it. You can get it. So if you don't have it, you definitely want to get it in your collection. And also, too, if you're, you know, one of these people like myself that's really into vinyl, well, this project's available on vinyl as well. So you want to add that to your collection and that. And stay posted to what Charlie's going to be doing, you know, as time goes on in that. Now, in just a few minutes, we'll come back with the second half of the show, and it is music by some of the best bands that are on the rise. You know, at the Artist First Radio Network, you know, they focus on, you know, the best music that you've never heard, you know, trying to get you familiar with some of the great talent that's out there, that's working hard and doing their part, you know, in trying to make it music and you get their music to you. And we just want to do our part on the Jimmy Warren Show too. So when we come back, we're going to have a track from a good friend of mine, Elliot Lewis, who is the keyboardist for Daryl Hall and John Oates. He's also on the TV show Live at Daryl's House. This is a live track of his called Determination. So as soon as we come back, we'll go right into that, and it's all music. All right, thank you very much, and we'll see you in a second.
Tune in every Tuesday night to The Jimmy Warren Show as Jimmy talks with some of the biggest names in music, from George Thorogood and Toto to Judas Priest and Charlie Daniels. That's The Jimmy Warren Show, Tuesday nights at 11 p.m. Eastern Time and 8 p.m. Pacific Time at www.jimmywarrenshow.com.
Tried to reach the sky with my mind. I look around, I've got it all, so I'm standing tall in my line. I never try to play by the rules. You know I'm no fool, I've learned. Don't need a lesson on how to live or what I should give in return. Never tell me that I shouldn't care. Tell me that life isn't fair. Tell me I'm going away. Never tell me, 'cause I'm already there. I got no time for complacency. I want the best of me when I try. Might just seem like a simple man, but I've got a plan that's no lie. I've got a thing for integrity, been inside of me from the start. I gotta look on the brighter side. I won't run and hide from my heart. No, never tell me that I shouldn't care. Tell me that life isn't fair. And tell me I'm going away. Never tell me, 'cause I'm already there. Never tell me that I shouldn't care. Tell me life isn't fair. Never tell me I'm going away. Never tell me I'm already there. Never tell me I shouldn't care. Never tell me life isn't fair. Tell me I'm going away. Never tell me I'm already there.
All right, that was Elliot Lewis.
All right.
Determination was the first song, and Never Tell Me was the second track. He's the keyboardist for Hall & Oates. He's got his own projects out. You definitely want to check him out at elliotlewis.com. Hey, if you're an unsigned band, or if you know an unsigned band that has a great project, you know, they got really good music and they're working really hard and they're trying to get out there, you know what? The Jimmy Warren Show wants to hear from you. You know, go to our website at jimmywarrenshow.com and contact me, you know, through the website, and send me a link to your music and your, you know, your website page and stuff like that. And love to get your music on the air. The second half of the Jimmy Warren Show, or a portion of the Jimmy Warren Show, is always dedicated towards unsigned artists, and so we want to continue that. So don't hesitate to send it to me, okay? And we're going to get right back into it. This is a good friend of mine, John Primer, legendary Chicago blues man. This is a hiding place.
1, 2, 3, 4. darling, every night and every day. I said, come on, baby, let me take you by the hand. Come on, baby, let me take you by the hand. Gotta do the nice thing for you, darling, everything that I can. Daddy, baby, I believe in you. Well, now tell me, baby, baby, what you gonna do? Let's go hide away. Come on, baby, let me take you to my hiding place. I wanna be with you, darling, every night and every day.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in tonight to the Jimmy Warren Show. Hey, you can get more information on the show at jimmywarrenshow.com, of course, and listen to a rebroadcast on Sunday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. We're live every Tuesday night at 11 p.m. Eastern as well. We're going to get out of here with a tune called Funkasaurus by Guitar Monster Sean Needham. Hey, we'll see you next week.
Tune in every Tuesday night to The Jimmy Warren Show as Jimmy talks with some of the biggest names in music, from George Thorogood and Toto to Judas Priest and Charlie Daniels. That's The Jimmy Warren Show, Tuesday nights at 11 p.m. Eastern Time and 8 p.m. Pacific Time at www.jimmywarrenshow.com.